It's Jackie, and welcome to Dating Dames V2. And this is my co-host Michelle. If you are newly single, divorced, or seeking the possibility of life, you're in the right place because, yeah, Dating Dames, we believe it's not about him, it's about you. And today we'll be diving into something slightly different to our usual podcast. We are going to be looking at a series of questions that both Michelle and I have answered for ourselves based upon our dating experiences and our personal values. And we'll be sharing these with you. You can also find them in the show notes. So you can then have a look at them, work your way through them, and decide what's right for you, what's not, what you'd like to amend. Because dating in your 40s, 50s, and beyond is so much different to your 20s, where we are not necessarily looking for an end goal of a package and a happily ever after, but we're looking for joy and excitement and connection and that which complements our life, that which enhances our life as opposed to completes our life. So, how are you doing, Michelle?
Yeah,
Welcome.
I'm good. I think, and I love this topic because I think, we keep saying that it's not about them, it's all about us and
Mhm.
wanting to be intentional in our dating.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes, we think we're being intentional in one way or another, and then we kind of
Mm.
realize that we don't really, we're sort of questioning ourselves after the fact or in the middle of it. And I think hopefully, as we're talking through these today, we will get across the idea that there isn't one right answer. Or if
Correct.
there is one right answer, it's the answer that works for you. So it's not that
Yeah,
there is an
absolutely.
exact kind of script you need to follow, but
Mhm.
you need to figure out what is, aligned with your values, aligned with where you are, aligned with your
Mhm.
comfort, and as well as, any objectives you may have along the way.
Yeah,
And so if you
absolutely.
can answer these questions in a way that
Mm.
today feels right, it just, might spark a little extra thinking before your next date.
Completely agree. So let's kick it off. Okay, so you can answer the first one. So my first question to you is, and to both of us, is who should text first after matching on a dating app?
Well, as you well
Mhm.
know, Jackie, I
Mhm.
am an
I do.
assertive and strong woman.
Yeah.
No, but I, for me, technically it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
But there are a few caveats to that. First of all, I
Okay.
like to see that there's some effort being made, and I know that guys will typically go like, and once you've matched,
Absolutely,
they're like,
yes.
oh wait, who was that woman again?
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
I do sometimes see it as a test of effort on one,
Mm.
as one potential point. The other thing, and it's a small caveat, is if people are on Bumble, the way Bumble used to work was that the woman had to initiate the conversation, and even
Yeah.
some friends of ours didn't realize that that had changed in the app and that men could now initiate a conversation. And so if it's
Mhm.
somebody I'm kind of extra interested in, I may go to the effort of saying hi first, just to
Yeah.
make sure that I don't lose the opportunity because he thinks he's waiting for me. How about you?
Mhm.
What do you think?
Okay, so for me, effort is really important, right? And it doesn't mean that every man that makes effort is a gentleman, because I've experienced some who are absolutely not. Oh my good heavens. So for me, it's clear. I will always wait for the man to initiate a conversation. And like I said to you, the reason for that is I feel that effort, generosity, and it's a simple thing, if you can't put in that really, really tiny moment, put your best foot forward, then what can I expect later down the line? So my answer is I wait for guys and I'm not waiting, I'm not sitting around. I expect the
But
man
you're
to.
looking for them. Okay, so
Yeah,
can I do a follow-up question? So
go
in
for it.
that first message, is there
Yeah.
anything particular that he needs to say in
Uh,
order to, pass the threshold of yes from you?
yes. So I will not respond to a hi or a wave or an emoji.
How about like a
So
rose? I've seen roses.
no. No. What, you forgot how to use words? No. In fact, Michelle, if I'm completely honest, I remember once somebody had done that. They'd sent me a hi emoji with a rose, and I wrote back and I said, "Have you forgot how to string a sentence together?" I felt it.
Ouch.
Which I you, but I think it was like the second or third time that I'd received one that day, and I just said, "Oh, can't not be bothered." So for me, it needs to be key things that I look out for. Needs to use my name. Hey,
Mhm.
Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Because I'm also aware that he could be talking to 10 other women.
Just cutting and pasting his opening line.
Exactly. Absolutely. So it's, "Hi, Jackie." Usage of the name is very important. "Pleased to meet you." And then an interesting question like,
What's the
"It's
weather
lovely
like for you?
it's lovely to meet you on this app. Anything exciting today?" Or, "What are you up to?" Or,
Yeah.
"What brings you," yeah, that type of thing. What about yourself?
Yeah, I
Anything.
think I'm actually okay with hi, as a low key way to just, again, to my point, sometimes I don't want to make a lot of effort to put together a nice sentence and question because I'm very good at questions, but I don't want to put a lot of effort into this if, again, he's just going to. So, hi, person's name. I mean, that's how I look
Hmm.
at it and what I receive. So if I
Yep.
get that back, I'm okay. Hi, Michelle, and some of the
Yep.
guys, are nice to meet you here.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
something pretty simple I'm okay with. But
Mm,
where I get, a little bit particular is if we
mm.
can't get beyond the couple word answers, questions very quickly. I mean,
Goodbye.
if
Yeah.
it's a few lines of, short responses, I'm like, okay, this isn't
Yeah.
interesting anymore. So that's where my
Absolutely.
threshold lies.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And then it's time to unmatch. Okay, so what about, do you ever send a message if you've not heard back from them? Do you initiate a message if you've not heard back from them? And for how long a period of time are you willing to wait?
So you know me, there's a lot of
Yeah.
nuance.
Yes, I do.
So I would say, I mean, first off, if I've sent a message,
Mhm.
and it's somebody that I haven't really been chatting much with, maybe we just started the chat, or maybe we quickly moved to WhatsApp and we had a few chats back and forth. But if
Yep.
I've sent them something and it's been, I don't know, 12 hours or 24 hours or something like that, and I don't hear anything, I definitely do not double, triple text. I mean, it would be different if
No.
you've been in a conversation with someone for some months or something like that. But
Mhm.
in this case, I don't send a message if I've just barely spoken with them and they haven't replied to the last one, is the easy answer. And then the tolerance for how long I wait, it depends. But as you know, I like to use the tools of WhatsApp archive, so somebody, if we're in WhatsApp and
Yes.
he hasn't responded in a while, I might move him to
Mhm.
archive.
Mm.
And sometimes I've moved them on into locked chats just so I never even think about them.
Yeah.
It's just my way of managing. So I'm not thinking, oh, he hasn't responded. He hasn't responded. He hasn't responded.
Yeah.
How about you?
Absolutely. Never. I will not. If a guy doesn't respond to me, then I will not initiate. And for me, my rule is
Yeah.
born mine. It's born out of the idea, which I see more and more, which is men will go for what they want. It's very simple. And so if they want something, they will go for
Mm.
it. And I think as women, and I really want to make this point clear, as women, we find it hard to understand that men are as simple in their thought pattern.
I keep forgetting. I think they're like us.
They're totally not like us. And so the idea of uh, if I want to communicate with you, I will. I think we need to bear that in mind more and more. And so my my philosophy now is I don't initiate conversation. If you've not texted me in a little while, it's time to say goodbye. And it also just shows it's an indicator to me of how interested you are in discovering me and discovering who I
Mm.
am and in discovering whether this could be something interesting or not, whether it's a
So,
friendship, it's a romantic
mm,
relationship.
mm.
Um, yes, so that is definitely my answer. Yep.
So I was going to give, again, just because I'm all about the nuance.
Yeah.
So I had an experience recently where I had a great set of, on a Saturday evening, a lot of chat back and forth. We'd moved quickly to WhatsApp, a lot of chat back
Yeah.
and forth, back and forth.
Mm,
Sunday rolls around, radio silence. Monday rolls around, radio silence. He's now been moved to
mm,
archive, by the way.
mm.
And I sent him a quick note and just said, "Oh, hope you had a lovely weekend with your daughter or something."
Yeah.
Oh, no, I know what I said. I said, "Oh, I watched the movie you'd mentioned, and it was fun." I mean, again,
Mm.
simple, not grasping, needy, asking him a
Yeah.
lot of questions. Um,
Mm,
and he answered, but I didn't get a lot more. And so then the next day, I was thinking about it, and I thought, what do I want?
mm,
What I want is more depth. And if he's interested, I would like to move to something as a next step. And by something, I
mhm.
mean
Yeah. What?
an audio or video call. And
Okay.
so rather than sitting there like stewing about the fact that I'm not getting the communication I want or
Mm,
thinking he doesn't care, making an
mhm,
assumption,
mhm,
I thought, I'm just going to ask, would you like to
mhm,
do an audio video call?
mm.
I don't get an answer for 2 days. So I'm definitely like, okay, we're
Yeah.
all good. Got it.
Mm,
Understand.
mhm,
And then he answered.
mhm,
And then we've had subsequently a bunch of chat. I have no idea why he went radio silence. I have no idea if
mhm,
I will ever meet this person or whether that
mhm.
was a true indicator of who he is.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more like I didn't want to make an assumption.
Mm.
I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to, so I was trying to find the place in between, which was say what I want, see how it goes.
Yeah. Uh, Interesting. And I think sometimes you need to create an opportunity like you did to mirror what type of communication you'd like.
Hmm. Yes.
I think that's quite important. So, for example, and not always, one or two chances and that's it. So, for example, I have been dating somebody for 5 or 6 months now, and I like when I like when somebody says goodnight to me. Hey, sweet dreams. Hey, hope you
Thinking about you, right? I
think
mean, it's
about
nice.
you, um, and sleep well. I like that. I like when somebody ends the night on that note. But what I don't like is when somebody says goodnight to me at 9 in the evening, because that is another little flag to me.
Why?
Yeah, because I've experienced that already, whereby somebody says, okay, say goodnight, and then they continue chatting with other people after it.
Oh, because it says
Yeah,
online. Well, they might be doing business. They might be online with a business situation, right?
but who gets to sleep at 9?
I
Um,
do. Unless I have jet lag.
so
Okay.
anyway, so I quite like that. So the guy that I'm dating at the moment, he doesn't often say goodnight. He'll
Mm.
send you messages, but he doesn't say goodnight. And then I thought, let's see if I were to do it, if he would reciprocate that. And I decided, let's see what happens if I were to mirror that. And so he has. Now he does that as the same thing as well.
Nice. Well,
And
yeah.
go for it.
I was just going to say, I think, you and I've talked about kind of the learnings along the way and breaking old patterns that maybe you had from, well,
Yeah.
30 years ago dating, which we didn't have chatting and texting anyway.
No.
But also just what you got comfortable with. Even
Yeah.
sometimes the person you lived with, were married to, maybe you didn't say goodnight to. So
I
sometimes it,
did, but yeah.
not that that has ever happened to me.
You never know what type of habits people pick up, right?
All right, I have
So
another question for you, Jackie.
yeah, go for it.
Okay. Are
Mm.
coffee or lunch dates okay? Or does the date need to be something more bigger?
Okay, so this is an interesting one, and I love that you've chosen this question because it will showcase different sides to us, right? And that's really good because I think listeners need to understand different sides
Mm.
and then choose what works best for them and choose the path that works best for them, and they can change it as they go along this journey. But for me, I've never gone on a coffee date. I will never go on a coffee date.
Oh, do not say never. Please don't say
I will
never.
never go on a coffee date. And I'll explain why, because I have no desire to waste my time or energy. So what I mean by this is, if I'm chatting to somebody and they say to me, and I've had it happen a few times, where they say to me, "Hey, fancy game for a coffee date? Maybe we could meet after a workout at the gym," or "Hey, fancy game for a coffee date? I'm going to be in the city for a couple of hours this morning." If if a man wants to meet me and is curious about meeting me and wants to understand more about me, I don't believe, for me, that a coffee date context is the right approach for me. And
Sure.
so I only say yes to lunch or dinner dates. And honestly, most of the people that I've met have said, propose, hey, can we go out for lunch? And what I like about that is that, number one, it shows energy. It shows the effort that they're willing to put
Mm.
into. And some people are, I mean, I remember meeting a guy once and he said to me, hey, can I either take you out for coffee or for drinks later tonight? And I remember looking at his photos and my first thought was, geez, does your wife back in the US know that you're going to be taking me out for coffee? I know you trip. Yeah, no, sorry, hard pass. And then, so yeah, so for me, a lunch date allows me to come prepared, have fun. I'm going to take a couple of hours out of my time, and I'm happy to
Mm.
do. And already I can determine whether this person is interesting and interested in me.
Yeah.
So the lunch dates that I have had have been absolutely amazing. Some of them have turned into, in fact, two of them have turned into friendships.
Mm.
In particular, and we've been friends for, I don't know, 8 or 9 months now, which has been really great. Um, and then others have led to romantic entangling, which has been fantastic as well. And so I would say, to answer your question, definitely will not be doing coffee dates. Do not wish to waste my time. Has to be either lunch or dinner dates. Now, drum roll, please, because my darling Michelle has a different answer. Go for it.
Well, I do and I don't. I mean, I totally agree with you that I think if you're really trying to get to know someone, a coffee
Mm,
date is difficult in the sense that
yes.
they're short, they're in crowded and noisy locations typically,
Mm,
and so it's not ideal in terms of kind of really getting to the heart of someone, which
yeah,
hopefully is part is part of what you're trying to do with a date. Um,
absolutely.
on the other hand, I've done a couple coffee dates, and neither of them have actually led to anything more. But it also
Mm,
feels like it's a, part of my approach has been to be quite open and do quite a lot of dating. I have time. And
mm,
so I tend to even say yes to things that I think, maybe.
mm,
And a coffee date is low risk. It also has no, mostly, you know what I'm talking about, no sexual overtones. If you go for coffee at
mhm.
10 a.m., in theory, nobody should be saying, oh, how about, a little afternoon
No,
delight.
a
Typically,
little.
it feels like you can kind of get more a read on people. There's no alcohol involved, which alcohol can
Mhm.
change the way things go. You also don't have to do all your hair, wax, nails, new outfit, all of that, and
Mm,
spend a lot of potential money. If this, I guess it's more about your strategy. Kind of, is it more about if you can have more low risk, shall I say, low risk types of encounters,
mm,
or if you want to do fewer, perhaps deeper, um, kind of more meaningful, and both can work. I did have one friend, I just have to say, I don't
mhm,
necessarily condone this strategy, but she
mhm.
went on hundreds of coffee dates. She would only do coffee dates.
Wow.
And over the course of
And what was
several
the
years,
yeah, what was the reason?
um, because she liked walking, kind of, there was like a standard walk. She lives in Seattle, and there was a standard walk. They'd
Mhm.
get the coffee and then they would go. And I think she felt it was safe. It was active. They
Okay.
didn't have to look across the table at each other like an interview. But again, it was low risk, low expense.
Mm,
And for her, this felt, I guess, safe and comfortable. She did
mm.
eventually meet someone, but now I
Referring
can't
to.
remember if it was actually if they had a coffee date or not.
What is the risk that you're referring to? Let's just talk about that
The
for a
risk, well, some of it is your time, right? So I have another friend
second.
who says, look, it's too much time. I don't want to spend a
Okay.
3 hour dinner with someone
Mm,
if I realize pretty quickly that I'm not
mm,
that interested. And so
mm.
there's that kind of a risk.
So it's time. We're not talking about risky things now.
I'm
This is
not
just
talking about, no, I don't
yeah,
feel physically at risk.
yeah. This is
Although
fine.
maybe some people in some locations would feel that it was better to do something during the daytime in
Mm,
that kind of a setting, they may feel more comfortable. Um,
yep.
but I think again, it's, one thing I was going to say too is, obviously coffee dates to feel a spark,
Mm,
sometimes a nice romantic dinner certainly
mm.
leads to more potential sense of, is there going to be a spark there?
Yeah, this,
Whereas coffee can
yeah,
feel a little bit sort of mechanical, maybe.
yeah.
And
I
just, we're
agree
just
with
here,
that.
we got 30 minutes. Let's get to it. Let's
Yeah,
get through
let's
the
go.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's really interesting because for me, because it's a short period of time, it almost feels like that's an interview.
Yeah,
That
I
is,
think you're probably right. It can be. Yeah,
yeah.
depending on how it goes, right?
Yeah, and for lunch, this to me just feels like a lovely, relaxed, chilled out way of getting to know
Mm.
somebody. You don't
Yeah,
need to
that's
worry
nice.
about tomorrow because, in fact, most people don't drink much over lunch, depending on where you're based. As an example,
Mm.
like culture, but let's just talk about our worlds. And it's relaxed, it's daylight, you can decide after an hour, that's enough, I'm done. But usually, I mean, let me know what you think or your thoughts on this. For me, those people that I've met for lunch dates, usually prior, I know whether there's some interest or not.
Mm.
Now, it doesn't mean I can determine what that interest is because it could be purely sexual. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember meeting a guy for dinner, and his energy was very strong. Ladies, his energy was very strong. And it was quite clear by the way he was looking at me. I felt like I was a Giselle about to be consumed by it. He had a very strong energy. And he would, I mean, even when he met me, he said, "Oh my God, your photos don't do you justice. You look so much prettier in real life."
Oh.
It was strong energy. And this was an early dinner. Anyway, so then you're having dinner, you're having lunch, or you're having a coffee. Who should pay for what? Who picks up that bill?
Oh,
He
this
invited
is
you
one of
out.
our,
Bear
this,
that in mind. He invited you out.
let's say again.
He has invited you
Oh,
out.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. So I think we've had this conversation many times. In fact, I think we even have a whole episode on this.
We did a
Um,
great podcast about who pays the bill. Yes, please do
who
listen
pays?
to it. Mhm.
Um, in general, I think whoever invites should pay. And that leaves the door
Okay.
open for you to invite somebody on a date and then
Yeah.
therefore make the payment yourself.
Mhm.
But as Jackie well
How?
knows, and listeners will know, I have split the
Mhm.
bill many times with people. This, for
Mhm.
me, this is not a deal breaker. It's not a core value of mine or a core issue for me. It is a potential indicator of generosity, effort, all of these things that we continue to talk about.
Mhm.
But depending on the context, I've definitely split the bill in the past. It's not a no-go zone.
It's not a no-go zone. Okay.
And
For
you,
me,
Jackie?
first date. Yeah. on a first date, for those who've listened to the podcast, who pays the bill? I will not pick up the bill on a first date. I probably won't on a second date. Now, late months down the line is very different.
Sure.
So, as I've mentioned earlier, I've been dating somebody for 5, 6 months now, and we recently went out, and I paid the bill. And yeah, yes, good stuff.
I know you felt uncomfortable paying bills before, so this
I
is a
have.
big step.
Yeah, but it's 5, 6 months down the line, right? And I'm really speaking about that first couple of dates. So, and I'll explain why. Quite simply, what I look for in a man is effort, generosity, and and gentlemanly behavior, chivalrous behavior. And so, to me, it is very important that, especially on a first date, if he invites me out, he picks up the bill. There is no sharing. There is no you pay the bill, I pay the tip, none of that. You're a complete stranger to me. You've invited me out. And the other thing that people don't see in particular is what goes on behind the scenes. And yes, of course, it is a choice. Getting your hair done costs money. Getting nails done costs money.
And
So,
time, God, the
yeah.
time.
And the time, yes, the time. I mean, the amount of times I remember once having a date say to me, and by then we'd been seeing each other for about 3 months.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying to me, he said, "You know, you don't need to do this every time we see each other." And I said, "Yeah, that's true. You're right. I don't, but I want to. I
Yeah.
like to, out of who I
And
am as a
he, I
person."
am sure,
And
loves it.
he hates it, absolutely. So I think that that is kind of people forget that. So it's easy to say,
Mm,
"Oh, so you get the guy to pick up the bill." He didn't pick up the bill for my hair and my nails and the outfit that I'm wearing and my time. He didn't pick up the bill for my time. I could have been doing something else.
yeah.
Um, Something that has greater value, right? Or I could have just been going out for a walk or a run. And I think people forget about that. So that to me is an important value. And it doesn't mean that all men that pay the bill are chivalrous. It doesn't mean that at all, but it does indicate a certain level of generosity, of effort, and it speaks to who you are as a person. Okay, so we've done who should pay the bill. What about dating app profile info? Is there a minimum or specific info that you need?
Wow. Well,
Mm,
I have to say that after I think I've been on I think about a year and a half, well, a little more than a year and a half, I've had a
yeah.
profile on one or another app.
Mm,
And I would say that in that time,
mm,
I'm getting much faster
mm,
at looking at a profile and deciding left or right. I mean, there's
yeah.
still people that are sort of in the middle, but I have to say,
Mm,
first of all, we need good photos. We don't want
yep.
bathroom shots, pictures of the bidet. I don't need pictures of fish. I don't need to see some meal. I don't need a sunset. I don't need you so far away that I can't see your face. Five
Mm,
photos of you in an elevator or in a car. I tend to sort of immediately discount this. So we need several, at
yes.
least 3 to 4 good photos.
Mm,
And also, I have to say, because again, I'm a girl, but the profile information is important to me. I read it
yes.
all. How
Mm,
tall are you? Did you go to school?
mm,
Are you active? Do you have, do you have children? I mean, whatever you
mm,
filled out, I've read it,
yeah.
and what you're looking for. So to me, I think that setting up, and I think this might mirror some of your thoughts, but effort. We
Yes.
want people who are making effort. If you have
Absolutely.
basically posted like 3 random photos off your, photo library,
Mm,
old or irrelevant, and you've made
mhm.
no effort to put in any information about yourself, it
Yes.
says to me that you're not serious. I mean, you don't have to be serious about getting married, but you have to be serious about trying to meet someone.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to put that in, then, I just think you're not passing the effort test.
Yes,
And you,
absolutely.
Jackie, similar or no?
Yeah, we have very similar ideas regarding this. For me, your photos tell a story and they tell a story of your life. And if you're going onto the dating app, it's not that complicated to put together 4 or 5 photos. It's
They
really
make it very easy.
yes, of, showcase your hobbies, showcase yourself in, for me, I love a man in a suit. Okay, there it is, it's out there. I love a man in a good suit. And so a photo of a man in a suit, show me some of your hobbies. What are your interests? Do you like music? Do you like running? Are you physically active? Um, what I definitely will not click on is elevator photos, selfies in the bathroom. Seriously, you cannot take a photo of yourself elsewhere or photos whereby somebody's faces has been scratched out.
Well, they do that a lot, right? To sort of, I guess, privacy or something. But it does show that they have
Exactly.
some
But
other people in their life.
it's
They
good that
just
they
don't have a
their
face.
lives, but to not have a photo of themselves without scratched out faces, you know, and then like yourself, um, you need to be able to construct a decent sentence. If you can't, seriously, it's a no-go. And also, I need to be able to read an interesting profile. If this is you putting, and I keep saying this, but if this is you putting your first foot forward, and this is the level of engagement or the level of effort you're going to make, and
Marketing.
yes, yeah, exactly, you're marketing yourself. If this is the level of effort you're going to make, and it's a one line of "I love camping and fishing," then we are not meant for each other.
So I have a question for you, Jackie. This might be a little
Yeah,
provocative.
go for it.
Have you ever liked slash matched with someone who didn't have a photo of themselves?
I was waiting for this one. Oh, listeners, Michelle has got me by the balls.
We've all been there, honey.
Yes. Okay. Full disclosure. Yes. Yes, I have. And
But how did it go? I mean, this is not about it's right or it's wrong, right? And in fact, I'll be honest, just
Mhm,
today, I
mhm,
clicked on someone
yeah.
who has two photos that are not them. It's like a sailboat, but all of their
Okay.
activities looked really
Mhm,
interesting to me.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, full disclosure, but what was the outcome of that experience for you, and did it change your view one way or the other?
Okay. So, interestingly, I think we all know the answer to that question. Yes. Okay. Interesting. So let's see. How do I answer this? Um, we actually met, and he is a. Let me start up by the reason why. God, I feel like I need to justify this now. So let's get
Confession
to the.
time.
It's time for a confession. The reason why I did that was because when I started my dating journey, I had been married for a very long period of time. And like Michelle rightly pointed out, when we were younger, people didn't text each other. People didn't go onto, there were no dating apps that existed, mainstream dating apps. It was a very, very new concept. And so I dipped my toes into the dating pool. And I did that by almost choosing the people that lived the farthest from me. And it was like the
Reasonable.
most, yeah, but I think what I tried to do was I looked for the people who were the most emotionally unavailable to me.
Cool.
And the reason I was, yeah, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to use this as a practice, a kind of trial run to see how things would go, right? And so I did actually meet this person, and his name will be Gabrielle. And did
Didn't
that.
remember that you'd met him. I remember
Yeah,
what his occupation was, if we're thinking the
yeah,
same person.
yeah, yeah. Are you thinking of somebody else? I can tell.
Ah, okay, okay. Go ahead.
We actually met and we had a fantastic first date. However, and what I enjoyed about the evening was that he was full of life. He was incredibly present. He was so very interesting. He was a vivacious personality and extremely, extremely charming.
Hmm.
However, was really unavailable. And so that date ended with it was lovely meeting you. Thank you very much. And it's time for us to go our separate ways. We
Hmm.
still friends or friendly. We're not friends. We are friendly with
Yeah,
each other, and
right.
had circum friends. He would definitely be somebody I'd be really interested in, because of his charm, because he had an extremely attractive personality and nature. It was really, really magnetic. And when you were in the room with him, you felt like nobody else
Mm.
existed. So yeah, that was. I think we both know where that went. Um,
So
but that,
you touched on this long distant matches. So that was one of our other questions
yeah,
is, and a lot of people, I mean, I've had other people ask me this just generally, do you click on the person who's 6,000 miles away or, 500 miles away or 40 miles away? And so I think you were saying for you, doing something at a distance, gave you some freedom, from having to really
yes,
kind of confront someone in person, and just
correct.
practice and see what it was like.
Yeah, until they said, "I'd like to fly you over." And that is one of the interesting things that you will discover, I guess.
Mm.
You know, the world is becoming smaller
Yes.
and people more. And so it's not completely off the table when you meet somebody in a long distance relationship. Nowadays, I mean, initially, like I said, when I started dating, my journey was really about practice. And it's something that
Mm.
I and it's something that I know you reinforced many times and something that I'm very keen on. And it's just practicing, practicing, practicing what it feels like, practicing conversation, practicing flirting, practicing and deciding who you wish to be. I think this is
Yep.
really, really deciding who you wish to be. And
Yep.
so yeah, I have had people say, "Oh, okay, and so we've been chatting for X amount of time. Is it possible for me to fly you over? Can I meet you?" And yeah, so you have to be cautious of that as well because those possibilities do exist massively.
Yeah. And it can go either way. I mean, so
Yep.
where I live is quite a tourist destination.
Yeah.
and it's kind of funny because in some ways I think I've had people who live farther away be
Mm,
more open to the potential of meeting than somebody who's, a 2 hour drive.
mm,
We kind of joke that there's a town, another kind of, quite popular tourist town not too far away, but getting people out of there is like impossible. They're like, oh, I can't even imagine
yeah.
getting to you. I mean, that's like a 3 hour drive. And I'm like,
Mm,
well, it's not 10,000 miles. So
no,
to me,
no.
that seems pretty low risk, but different
Mm,
people have different sense of this. And I think it's also good if they're, again, test of effort. And I've also had people who said,
mm,
hey, I am going to fly down and I am going to see you, or I am going to drive
yep,
over. And,
yep,
and I think that's, or someone that I met here and then I was in London
mm,
subsequently and we met up again. And so that kind of thing
yes,
can happen. And so that decision about long distance really, again, very personal, very much about your
yep.
circumstances, what you're
Mm.
open to, what you're trying to achieve. Are you looking to practice? Do you think you might be able to? You're headed to London this summer, so you should, put your app on travel mode and start checking out the
Yeah,
market.
absolutely. And I think it's also for some people, this is really interesting, right? Some women enjoy having conversations with people,
Hmm.
and men generally, it's let's meet.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where you need to decide, like you said, is it, hey, this could be a trial. Let's communicate with people who are so unavailable, but it's a good way for me to practice. Or is it actually I want to meet somebody within 100-mile radius of where I am, so that we actually do engage and meet each other. The
Yeah.
choice.
Which is important. I
Right.
mean, I've even think I saw some kind of
Absolutely, yeah.
advice somewhere that was saying if you don't
Yeah.
meet physically within some, I don't know, some period, a short period of time, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to bridge from that kind of, chat connection into a
Yes.
romantic one. It's going to very
Yeah.
quickly just head off into a friend zone, which again is not the
Yes.
worst outcome, but it's kind of realistic that if you don't physically meet, it's
Mm.
very, it's going to be very difficult to have a relationship.
Of course it is. And I guess that's where people need to ask themselves, right? What are they doing on the dating app? What are they trying to achieve? What is their
Mm,
intention? I think it's really clear that you yourself need to decide what your intention is and then act upon it. So,
mm.
okay, so I've got something for you, and this is actually
Okay, I'm
something
ready. I feel like it's Christmas and I'm getting a gift.
Ah, okay. Talk to me about receiving and sending voice messages or doing video calls prior to meeting on a date. What are
Okay.
your thoughts?
So
Mhm.
I think we've talked about or mentioned in previous episodes that how people present themselves, it can be very, very different between, a photo, to a chat message, to certainly in person, right?
Yes.
And and I've had personal experience where I found that, oh, the chat message were great, super engaged and really
Mm,
interesting and seemed like, just this kind of a person. And then we decide to do, I don't remember if he suggested it. Anyway, we got on an audio call.
mm,
And I remember just thinking, halfway through of an hour call, I was so bored. I was bored. Plus, like his voice, his accent were kind of
mm,
bugging me, and I just didn't feel that
mm,
same level of kind of engagement. And so, for me, what I've learned is that chat is great, but I like to hear their voice. And recently, I exchanged voice messages with somebody, and I was like, oh, actually, I quite like his
yeah.
voice. That's really nice.
Yes.
And other times, I've been
Yes.
like, oh, I don't know, not really sure I like his
Mm.
voice. And voices are important, right? I've
Yes,
also
they
had amazing experience with video calls
mhm.
where and it's a little different, obviously,
Yeah,
because
that's why
now
before
it's
you've
kind of
actually
like a
physically
date.
together,
You're
yeah.
worried, like, how's my hair if I put my lipstick
It
on,
does my head
right?
look yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But on the other hand, you can really get a sense of their energy through their physical, their body, their
Mm,
smile, which you can't get through
mm,
an audio or a chat. And
mm,
so if in the case where I did a bunch of video calls, that person wasn't nearby, and that was kind of
mm,
our substitute for meeting.
yeah,
I would certainly suggest voice message, absolutely. Chat messages,
yeah,
absolutely. Audio
yeah,
call if you can't, if you really need to kind of test things out, and then
mm,
try to meet. But if you can't meet,
yeah,
video is reasonable.
yeah. Okay, let me share my thoughts. So I completely agree with you regarding sending a voice message.
Mm,
I think I've only done one video message, but definitely a voice message because and usually what you also get, you get two things out of this. Number one, you see whether he reciprocates, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Effort.
And exactly, effort. So you see whether he reciprocates. And then the other thing is the obvious one of do I like the voice? Is it somebody I'm going to be able to communicate with? Well, that voice irritates me. Is it slow and monotonous? Or is it exciting and thrilling?
some
And
sort of
so,
irritating accent that I can't take.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so that is something I do before every date. It is now my new standard. Before every single date, I need to hear their voice. And I think you can build up a tiny, tiny, tiny
Mm,
image in your mind of, or you can add more pieces to the puzzle. The interesting thing about chat, whether it's on the apps or whether it's on WhatsApp, which is what usually many people do, you start on the app and then you move over to WhatsApp, is that that conversation is not actually taking place with you and the person only. A conversation takes place between you, the image you create in your mind, and the person. And often we as women love romancing
mm,
that image of who we like this person to be.
yeah.
And I've experienced it, you've experienced it, many women out there have experienced it. And having had firsthand experience in this one, I remember speaking to somebody for about a month, 3 weeks to a month, and then we met, and the person in reality, and the person that I spoke to via chat was very, very
Mm,
different.
mm, yeah.
Massive disappointments. And so, and we had done one video call and we had done voice messages as well. Um, I think it's really interesting to bear in mind that when you have all these wonderful chats on whether it be apps, whether it be WhatsApp, you conjure up images of of what you think the person is all about. And that may not always be the reality. So it is something to be cautious of. But I would definitely say, as Michelle mentioned earlier, a voice message is very important. It can save you a lot of trouble.
A lot of time.
Yes, a lot.
Okay, we're going to have to I think we should jump to a juicy one. Can we do
Go
the
for it.
red flags one?
Oh, I was waiting. I was waiting. Let's go for it.
I love this one. Okay, so you have to give so red flags can occur either in the profile, you go, oh, that word,
Yep.
or it can obviously happen in person on a date or whatever.
Yes.
Why
Okay.
don't you go first?
Okay. So, a couple of red flags, and I'm going to actually take this one step further for our listeners because people may, I think a lot of women may be concerned about this one. So, I'm going to share a personal experience with you, with the intention of helping you should you ever find yourself in a situation like this. So, red flags. While we're chatting. I'm not into one night stands. I am not into coffee and sex. I'm not into drinks and sex. And
Theme.
as
There's a theme. No drinks
and
and sex.
And so that to me is a big red flag. I think things like and you can feel somebody's energy, right? You can feel the energy. And like I said earlier, men are so simple in their nature. If all they want is sex, they are brilliant. They tell us immediately.
Yeah.
And I now see that more and more as what I call the natural dating filtering system. Because you can then at that point decide, hey, do you know what? This guy's actually said to me, all I want is sex. And you can either say yes, because that's what I want as well, or you can say, no, I think that's a hard pass. I'm not into that. So other things is, do we speak the same language? That's quite important. I remember having a Greek or Turkish guy, I don't quite remember, message. Don't he I don't know if you found me on one of the social media on socials, but somehow found my details and
Mm,
social media and was quite clear about his intentions. Would really like to meet you. You are beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you can fly to Greece or wherever it was. Yeah, no, definitely not going to be happening. And then when they don't want to meet immediately, that's a definite red flag because,
mm,
and out of town, it's because either I'm married or I'm in another relationship with another woman.
mm,
But I
yep,
fancy a bit of play about and I fancy having a bit of fun.
mm.
So touch on earlier and is this a question for later, perhaps? Have we ever needed to walk out on a date? Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
let's cover that one because those red
okay.
flags might be so
Yeah,
egregious that or so big those flags. Um,
yeah, absolutely. What about you? Those are mine.
Well, for me, so sometimes I look, you look at the profiles, their
Mhm.
profiles, right? And I have seen some various terminology like, what was it? Unvaxxed and fully waxed was his
Yes.
request. And to me, that's kind of a red flag because first of
You.
all, it's like I'm a shopping list, right? And
Yeah.
by the way, why do I need to be unvaxxed? I mean, is that
You.
contagious? Is a vaccination
You.
contagious? So
Yes,
to me,
exactly.
that's actually probably an indicator of either a social or political bias that is not in
You.
keeping with mine. So that's a flag for
You.
me. I see a lot of words like loyalty. They're looking for loyalty in a
Mm.
relationship, and all I
What
can think there
as
is
in
that
of course, but what are they
yes,
trying to say?
something has happened for them, and now they're looking for a loyal person. And I do wonder if this is a
Yeah.
guy thing or if women say the same thing. So something that talks about
I
loyalty. Go ahead.
Yeah, please. I just want to add to that. I remember chatting to somebody once, and he said loyalty is really important to me. And it was the first time I'd heard a guy say that. And I said, "Oh, so you've been cheated on before?" And he said, "Yes, twice." And so this is a huge requirement for me, which I can understand if I was in that position.
I'm not sure how you
Is it,
demand loyalty, though. You know, you got to kind of earn it. I mean, not that
yeah,
I've
it
never
depends on
cheated.
people.
Yeah, yeah. But I just,
Yeah.
I kind of think that by saying I want loyalty is like
Mm,
saying that no matter what, you need to be loyal to me, which,
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a flag in and of itself. Another
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
that was kind of fun I saw recently,
Mm.
um, looking for someone who knows how to treat a man.
Ooh, what does that
Knows
mean?
how to treat a man? What does that even mean? So to me, I'm like, okay, okay, I think we get it. But
Yeah.
other things, if they have a very strong, if I notice in the chat,
Mm.
somewhere between profile and date, that they seem to be very judgmental about certain things, about kind of superficial
Yeah.
things. They have, or they
Mhm.
have, I tend to have a more liberal political leaning, and so if they have very
Yeah.
clear conservative ones, I know that's not going to work. Um,
Yeah.
but at
What
kind of
about
a,
superficial,
go ahead.
like, what about superficial things like I love shopping in spas?
Oh yeah, no, that is definitely. I mean, those are a definite like left. For me, because I'm not into
Mm,
those things. Someone who says they're into sneakers, fashion,
mm,
or shopping,
mm,
which again, I
mm,
can't imagine a man that's into shopping, but I'm not judging.
mm,
Or if they say they like PlayStation, I'm also, as much as I love a good spa, a guy whose interest is spas, unless that's their profession. I'm kind of like, interesting. I mean, I just don't know that's my vibe. And again, this is
mm.
not that everyone needs to take these. These are my personal kind of flags,
Yeah,
red and yellow, right? Um,
absolutely.
I also,
Absolutely.
just back to your point about the sex, if um, any profile that I see in Tinder,
Mm,
the nomenclature is short-term fun. And
mm,
I just figure, there's also intimacy without commitment or open
mm,
relationship, which are other,
mm.
or sex positivity I've seen. There are other
Oh,
ways of saying I'm open, but short-term fun is just so direct and so there that it's so not me. And I'm like, nope.
mm. Yep,
And then what
absolutely.
else I was trying to think of? Yeah. Oh, so sometimes also in the chat, if people move very, very quickly, and I've had them
Yeah.
move in, sentence number three, to discussions about sex. Oh, what are you wearing? Oh, I bet do you like, whatever they, there's so many
Yep.
ways of going about it. But that to
Yep.
me is a very strong indicator that we're not aligned.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, as I mentioned earlier, I've had to do something which
Oh
some
yeah.
people need to do. Have you ever walked out on a date? And
I haven't, but I know you have.
okay, I have. And I have no qualms doing it either. So I'll set the scene. Um, we had a very long date and it was lovely. And then we started talking about something which I feel very strongly about. It's, oh my God, it's not a good conversation for me to have. And it's about, I don't like this line that men use. Oh, yeah, she used me for my money. And my response to that is always, you got no tits and ass in the process. What did you get? That's always been my response. And so I remember once having a date, and we started having quite a heated discussion about I'm currently based in Cape Town, South Africa. And he was making a point in saying, oh, this people, because I'm European, they use me for my wallet and my passports. And I said, it's quite interesting. If we were living back in Europe, we wouldn't be having this type of conversation. And so I said to him, please do not put me in that same bag. Um, because that is not who I am. I have my own passport and I have my own money. And at any rate, the conversation became really heated. And at one point I said to him, right, Gabrielle, I think it's time for me to jump off this merry-go-round. I'm leaving now. And I said, it became so heated that I said, I'm leaving now. And if you, I think I said something like, if you don't apologize, then I'm never returning. And I felt quite strongly about that because I feel like it's so easy to place people in a particular category, which I don't really appreciate. And then there was another scene, geez, I've had to do this twice, right? There was another scene whereby, um, my date became quite sexual with me. And I thought, you know what, this is really, really not for me. And his energy was quite sexual when we met. We had a really lovely, charming date. He's very interesting, very intelligent, world-wise, which was great. And so it was an interesting date until it was until it got to the point of let's pursue this, in a very physical, intimate way. And I just thought, oh, this is not for me. And I said, you know what? It was, yeah, really great. Thank you very much, but I'm out. And I left.
If I recall, you were in a state of undress at that moment.
I certainly was. And
And
so
but that's to your
it was,
point.
yeah,
It's hard at that point, right?
it
It's
is hard.
hard for both of you. Both egos are in, you don't want to damage him and he's now in a state of undress and thinking, how is this going to go?
Mm,
But to the point,
mm,
that was a red flag for you. What was
absolutely.
going on at that moment was not aligned
Yeah,
with your values and
no,
objectives, and you had to pull yourself out.
absolutely. Yeah. And something you said now, which I just want to clarify, and it's something I feel strongly about, is in the whole process of what dating dames is all about. And the concept of it's not about him, it's about
Mm,
you. Is that I didn't actually worry about whether his ego got bruised. In that
yeah,
moment, all it was prioritize yourself, Jackie.
mm,
Prioritize
it's
your
good.
value, prioritize what's important to you. And so for me to grab my bag and say, adios, amigo, it's time to go, that was really important. And I don't think it was easy to do that. And for many
No.
listeners, you may find yourself in a situation like that, whereby you need to just extract yourself. And it may not be easy, but it is something that you need to do. I like the concept of, as I've mentioned many times, it's not about him, it is about you. And it's about sticking to your values, sticking to your path, prioritizing yourself, and doing that which is right for you is so very important. And at that point, not
Mm.
one, "Ooh, what if he gets upset?" Of
Well,
course he
no,
will.
it was just that it's so awkward, right? In that moment
Of course it's
where you both
upset.
sort of arrived, um, consensually in this moment.
Yeah.
And so, everybody has their idea of where it's going to go from here. And
Yeah.
so it's awkward. It can be awkward to stop. But as you know, I had also a situation where, I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely had to prioritize myself, and
Yeah.
I became slightly worried about my safety. Not that he was going to hurt me, but that had put
Mm,
myself in a position of this is not ideal. I really need to leave.
mm,
And getting
mm,
dressed and leaving and, not feeling great about the fact that I put myself in that situation, but
mm.
I made it right by making
Yes.
the call, right? Um,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
yeah, so those are red
I
flags, especially if you
yeah,
obviously if you come to that stage where you had to extricate yourself. That's clearly a red flag for future dates.
a couple of red flags. So I've got a final question to ask you,
Okay.
and this one is interesting because, and I'll tell you why I'm asking the question, because I think it's very important for listeners to understand, and for you and I to understand as well. Is how? Let me ask the question first, and then I'll explain why. So, what type of man or men would you like to attract? And I ask this question because often women find themselves in a pattern of attracting a very similar person, and that person may not be the type of man they wish to attract. So, can
Mm.
you adjust? Can you can you adjust? Because can you then look at yourself and say, okay, this seems to be the pattern of man that I'm attracting. What do I need to do in order to change that? So let's start off with yourself, and what type of man would you like to attract? Not what you attract, what would you like to attract?
Yeah.
That's our closing question for today.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we all have a laundry list of characteristics that we would love to to
Hmm.
fulfill.
Yep.
But at its the most basic are certainly intelligent, um, generous, active,
Mm,
very they need to be emotionally mature,
mm,
communicative. I guess those are
mm,
kind of the base level of things of people of things
mm.
characteristics of people that I would like to attract in my dates. And I
Yes.
think more or less, not all in one package, but more or less, that's, I've had a good mix of those. How about you?
Okay. Okay. So for me, I would say I need somebody who's open-minded. This is really important to me. I don't enjoy being with one-dimensional type of people. So generally, it's people who's traveled loads, but not just traveled, who've been able to travel and submerge themselves in different cultures. So
Mm,
I like the idea of seeking the best out of what life has to offer. Um, Somebody who's intelligent, but not overwhelmingly so, and and doesn't use intelligence as a means of I brag about whatever.
oh, no, 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 no.
Not for me. I like somebody who's emotionally intelligent. This is interesting to both of us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here on dating dames, would we? I love somebody that's humorous. I love somebody that can take
Yes, I do. I want to add
themselves.
that one. Makes me laugh.
Okay, exactly, makes me laugh. Somebody that can take the mickey out of themselves, not serious all the
Yes.
time. I like being surrounded by a man who enjoys good food. Uh, Criteria for me is somebody who's physically active and takes care of their health. This is really important to
Mm,
me.
mm,
And I'm quite a tactile person, so touch is really important as well. And I like holding hands. I like the closeness that it brings
nice,
about. This is
nice.
really important. I'm just trying to look at my list. Um, I think generally I like being surrounded by people and men in particular, because we're speaking about men that I attract, whom I can learn from. This is really
Mm.
important to me, being surrounded by people whom I can learn from. And that's friends as well. And I think that's why you're one of my friends as
We are
well.
friends.
Both my friends as well. So this is, yeah, this is really important to me. Um, well, so who do I attract? Well, let's see.
I think you attract a lot of that. Again, it may
Yes,
not
I
all
do.
be in one package, right? But from what I've
Yeah.
seen, you tend to get some, connection of a few of those.
Yes, absolutely. But having said that, I've also stepped off the wrong platform and been in crazy town where I've met a couple of men who really had to question what I was manifesting. And
Yeah, you sent the wrong message out to the universe.
apparently I put the wrong message out to the. And I think that that's really important for people to understand that. So it's great for me to say, for you and I both to say, this is the type of man I'd like to attract. But there have been some oddities as well, let's just say, in that bag. So yeah,
I
I
think
think.
there's been one consistent type. Did you want to share that? There have been a couple people who had a very consistent approach.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is really interesting, and it makes me wonder. I'm actually curious to understand why this is, but I seem to attract men who, and the first time I heard it, I burst out laughing because I never saw myself like this. But I seem to attract men who are interested in, dare I say it, taking care of me and
Because
having.
you're such a shy, retiring, sort of, desperately needy person. Not.
Who no, who wished to take care of me, and the first time I heard this, I was really shocked. I remember calling you immediately and saying, "Oh my gosh, Michelle, you'll never guess what somebody's just described me as." So yes, I had two kids, two teenage boys, and he said to me while we were having sushi, "So you're a package deal then?" And I looked at him as if to say, "Are you talking flights and hotel? What exactly do you mean by a package deal?" He said, "Well, I want to let you know that I'm able, and by the financial means, to take care of both you and your children." And as flattering as that may sound, it's not what I wanted or needed. And so it was really interesting to see this type of, well, yeah, this type of conversation and then see this type of man that I'm attracting. We probably need to dig into why that is at a later stage, but that's for another conversation altogether. And in a way, it's flattering, really beautiful because people want to commit and connect in a big way, in a massive gesture.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so I'm seeking the beauty out of it. And I'm just saying thank you, but that's not for me at this point in time in life. So yeah, that was interesting. So to all our listeners out there, any other final questions you'd like to share? I think we've wrapped it up, and that's a juicy one to wrap it up with. Yeah. So to all our listeners out there, this podcast probably been a little bit longer than we usually plan, but it's been good. All the questions will be available in the show notes. Download them, see how you feel, see what type of answers come in you, uh, do's, don'ts, what's negotiable, what's not negotiable, and then decide what course or path you'd like to take and honor that. Because part of dating James, and we spoke about this earlier, is that it is not about him, it is about you. And in that journey, you will also match somebody and meet with somebody at your level. So that's really great. So this is a wrap for today's show. And if this resonated with you, please go to the show notes, download the questions available, and share this with a friend, share it with a family member, share it, and let us expand on our community of dating dames. And
And
it
if you
is,
enjoy
yeah,
this, excuse me, please check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and our Dating Dames V2.
yes. And remember to embrace this adventure, enjoy the journey. And most importantly, it's not about him, it's about you.